This episode is brought to you by the Thrive Tribe. Check it out at chasingbrighter.com/Thrive Tribe.
When are you going to start doing some recordings at your new place?
Oh, I don't feel like I've got enough good internet for that. We'll do a test recording. I'm not sure about my
Okay.
internet. My
Uh,
sketchy internet. I don't have a problem with it, but I'm nervous about it.
my new lake house so there was a grant in the state of Michigan for rural areas to get fiber optic internet. And I think this is also in other states, the same thing when they were trying to get internet in every corner of the
Mm-hmm.
universe.
Mm-hmm.
And so the internet in our Lake Michigan house is double what we have here and half the price. Isn't that insane?
Wow.
It's crazy
Yeah.
fast.
I I'm still on the lookout. I need to follow through for some renters in my office, but I told you I have the T-Mobile internet,
Yes. Yeah.
which to me I think is just like a gigantic hotspot. And I had my daughter and her boyfriend, and we were all there working one weekend. And my daughter and I had no issues, but her boyfriend kept getting kicked off. And I don't know if it makes a difference, but Gabby and I have Max, and he had a PC. And I don't know if that makes a difference because Gabby had no problem. I never had a problem. And that was my whole thing is what will happen when I have a whole bunch of computers working on that to see how
Well,
that
what's
is.
this?
So
Do you know what the speed is on it?
no, I had looked it up
Okay.
because I looked up what I needed and just honestly, if you just have I have a TV going streaming and I have let's say you had three people doing like a live Zoom call or something. It's I'm just making up numbers now. But let's say I need 20 and the professional was like 150. And it was like triple the price. And I was like, I don't need 150. I barely
Uh,
need anything. You know what I'm saying? Like I barely need anything. And also the providers that I'm looking at, the provider is not going to rent a space to be doing telehealth. And so people are just going to be like on their computer, like typing up some work. And then I'm thinking of getting like a Reiki healer or a massage therapist or something who doesn't need internet. So I just don't think unless I get people like your husband Brian was saying, which I am considering it, making the supply closet or the storage closet a studio or a telehealth space. So if somebody wanted a space for telehealth and renting that out,
you
so
could
then
make that
maybe I
your
need better.
podcasting recording room and then
I
rent it
thought
out to
about
other
it.
people.
I thought about it. Yeah. Make it like a booth.
Yeah. There's a lot of
Um,
fun stuff you could be doing in there.
right, right.
And what do you have as your regular internet?
In my house?
Verizon, right? You guys have Verizon?
No,
Sorry, for your cell
Cox.
phone.
For
For
cell
your cell
phone
phone.
Verizon. Yeah.
Because we have this, I have a hotspot that I purchased through Verizon. We call it the
Yeah.
potato.
Okay.
And that gave me, like, for the Michigan house, that's what we were using until
Yeah.
we had the other thing.
Is it really good? Because when I was looking it up, because I was like, I'm just gonna get that, and because we go to so many softball games and we're streaming Game Changer and all that stuff, and like Giovanni was like on his iPad, I was like, dude, what happens if I just get a hotspot? But like the
I love
reviews on
it.
the different devices were so negative that I.
The challenge, so first of all, I have a 4G. If I got
Mhm.
another one, I would get the 5G. Like,
Mhm.
it's older, but I own it outright because they're not
Yeah.
cheap. They're a couple $100, I think,
Because
to
yeah,
buy the
that
device.
right.
They give you the monthly. That's the thing. I hate
So
the carriers because they tell
yeah,
you everything is free. It's not
right,
free. It's a monthly
right.
fee until you pay it off.
So what I did was we just got Giovanni a phone because it's cheaper to give him a phone and to use it as a hotspot
Yes.
than it is when I was looking at all the
So we
hotspot-ish
have,
stuff. So,
you have, so then your plan, like my Verizon plan's unlimited. So it includes my potato and then my
right.
internet stuff, my phone. But then they're not drawing off my phone and my phone battery, to your point. It definitely has better battery life than my phone in terms of drawing it off.
Mm-hmm.
The regardless of what you have, hotspot on your phone, hotspot on a potato,
Yeah.
you're at the mercy of the speed of the network right then. So like
Right.
our lake house, it within like a quarter of a mile, it goes from
Yeah.
5G ultra wide to 1 bar LTE.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter if I have a potato or my phone, it's still gonna the internet's still gonna suck. It
When
just I think it
yeah.
performed better than my phone,
When you
honestly.
talk about your battery life, I want to share this with our listeners, and we'll put this in our show notes. Okay. The Padoro MagSafe battery pack, Podoru. And it's the one I know not all new phones, so my husband can't use it because it doesn't, you have to have the magnet phone, which is what the iPhone 13 and up.
13 or 12. It's
It's
12 in some cases.
10,000 megahertz. So you can take it on a plane because over that, I had looked it up. You can't have, because my other ones that I use for traveling are like 30,000 and you can't take those, you can't have those on a
If
plane.
they find them,
Yeah, I'm sure
do they
if they
know?
look at it, if it's too big, I don't know. But like I was nervous. And so it's the one that just magnets to your phone
Yes.
and it will give, and you can just use a cord. You can use a cord, but it will give you four really fast chargers on your phone. And so when Gabby and I were
Yes.
traveling, she magneted it to the back of her phone, and because these teens are not charging their phones, and even though they have portable chargers, they're not using them. And so then Dad had a vest. Dad has a heated vest and the battery was out. I'm like, here, Dad, use my battery pack. And he like plugged it right in. And I was joking that he was going to be set on fire. His vest, like, like it charged so fast. And I can't believe how many charges I get out of it. And if you're a person that forgets cords all the time, it's been amazing. I've been
I
recommending it
love
for everyone.
that. Yes, we'll definitely put it in the show notes. I bought one and then I became obsessed with the MagSafe stuff. I don't use the MagSafe functionality on my phone. So I bought a new case with MagSafe
Okay.
and I have been using all of that. My
Yes.
battery life is usually okay if I'm home, right? And you plug it in at your in your car and stuff, it's no
Yeah.
big deal. But it's
Yeah.
like when, to your point, when you're out and about beyond that, I probably need to get a new phone, but phones are super expensive. And I would rather spend my money on something else right now. So
Yeah.
also when I said I would, it's not really. It's the children who suck, the
Right.
children in their club sports that bleed me dry
Yeah.
financially.
Yeah.
As
I think Yeah, the same. I think when I'm at a tournament and stuff like that, I will be using my phone more. And so we're getting into baseball, softball season. And so I'm sitting there using my phone more. I've been like reading my book on my Kindle on my phone. And when Gabby and I were traveling, like when you use GPS on your phone, I think it drains a lot of battery. And so, anyways, that has
yes,
been really great. So, update to our listeners. I know our last mom talk, I announced that my daughter committed to college for softball. And she's still doing that.
very
However, tore her ACL, which if
yes,
you're not familiar, is in your
no.
knee.
Oh,
And
just
she
so
is
awful.
a was an integral member of her high school softball team as a pitcher. We have a lot of girls who have never played before, and so having her pitch and be able to strike everybody out really saves the defense from having to defend. So I went to a game and it was just so hard to watch because you have my daughter who's been playing for a long time, who's an elite athlete, and then there were a lot of girls that have never played before. I don't know if I told you this, but they told a girl like ball four, take a base. Ball four, it's ball four. Ball four, you can go to the base. So she runs to first, and while she's at first, the first base coach sees the bat, and he goes to get the bat and didn't see that she turned and just started running to second. And it was not a fast run. I don't know if she thought you just get to run the bases if you have four balls. And so she ran to second and they got her out. And it was just like a lot of girls that don't know the rules of the sport. And so that's been tough to watch because Gabby was an integral leader, right? A leader and helping the girls and everything. So anyway, so she has
That's such a
surgery.
bummer.
She has surgery and but I know you tore your ACL and other things. Our cousin tore his ACL, but everybody else we know, you included, did like a lot of little things to their knee, and she's very lucky that it's literally just the ACL, no other damage, nothing else happening. And now they do it arthroscopically. Probably when
They've
you
been
did
doing it
it, like they
arthroscopically,
used,
by the way, for like 25 years, as far as I know.
well, but that's not best practices, and that's not necessarily standard. Yes, it's been available that long, but that is not necessarily what a particular surgeon might do. And then
Gotcha.
also, they use cadaver tendon
Hmm.
and they grafted it. They don't do that anymore.
You
They
can do the
use a part
artificial.
of your knee. No, a
Oh,
part of your actual knee. And so before they would graft something artificial or a cadaver tendon to it, and then your tendon would die and then have to rebuild on the grafted. So that doesn't happen anymore. So it's a part of your body. And the healing is just so different.
That's
And
great.
he's saying crutches no more than 2 weeks,
Oh,
running
that's
5 weeks
great.
post. That is very exciting. And our daughter was at the peak. So the sports medicine orthopedist said that a junior year is when a lot of athletes get hurt because they have built up strength. And so they're stronger than they were before. And so it, pushes their, I don't know how to describe that medically, but you're stronger. And so you're doing things with higher impact on your body than you did before. And she has just been lifting weights consistently for like 2.5 years. And even her trainer was like, I'm just so shocked because her quads were so strong and she had no knee tracking issues and no knee issues. So he was just like, she wasn't hit by something. It wasn't a contact injury. He was really confused. And so just to see everybody in our community be supportive and the college that she chose, so obsessed with. I was like, worst case scenario, if you never play softball again, like when we didn't know what was happening, it was like, you can still go there. Like she wants to go to that college. And then the coach was like, we chose you for you. Like we want you. And so some colleges might be getting someone for a position or want a certain thing, but like we want your personality and you on our team and this changes nothing for us. And then the assistant coach texted her and they've been nothing but supportive and amazing. And they told a story. There's a girl that's a freshman on the team right now. In her senior year, she tore her ACL after signing with them. And she came back, came in the fall, is like their hardest worker, is lifting more than anybody, and is a starting freshman. And so
Oh,
they're
that's
like,
good.
I just think also if you deep dive on this, girls are female athletes are tearing their ACL. It's not a matter of if it happens, it's when. And like you found out you had a partial tear probably when you were a teen, and then
Yeah,
found
I
out
had tore
when,
my ACL. There was scar tissue in on my ACL. There's scar tissue on
yeah,
a lot of things because when I broke my
yeah,
finger, they were like, "There's scar tissue." So I definitely probably was beat up more than
yeah,
I realize. ACL is such a common injury, and you guys, it sounds like you've got an amazing surgeon. She's going to be committed to bouncing back.
mm-hmm.
So it's a small setback, but it's one of those where it sounds like she even plans to come back stronger than before,
Oh
right?
yeah, 100%. Yeah.
It does
And
also
yeah.
make me nervous just about like preventative measures. I've always been nervous with my own kids. I think the reason I tore it is because my IT bands are so tight. So I'm always like making sure they're stretching their IT
Mhm.
bands. To your point, sometimes it's just it happens.
Yeah. When you say that, our listeners know how obsessed we are with sleep. And because my phone is listening to me at all times, I had a reel come up of this expert talking about injuries and sleep. And if this was like the injuries, like like a bar graph, really high, 5 hours of sleep, lower 6 hours of sleep, lower 7 hours of sleep, 8 hours and more, almost like no injury, no chances of injury. But we tease, I call my oldest grandma, and she does go to bed at 8:39. Like she does get a lot of sleep, and she did do all the things, just a freak accident. But yeah, how can you
I
try to
could
prevent that?
see sometimes with those studies, like I can jump to like other logical things because to that point, if you don't have good sleep, maybe you're not making good decisions.
Yeah, right.
And then that could lead to an injury.
Yeah,
But there's a lot of variables. Such such a tricky thing. You just never know. So
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
glad she's getting the care that she
Yeah,
needs.
yeah.
And how is her mental health?
She, it was a while before we got the diagnosis, it feels like, just waiting for the x-ray and the MRI, and then our appointment got pushed back. So she said that she had a good 2 weeks of crying. So when she finally got the diagnosis, she was fine. And I think there was a lot of anxiety about the college, because the college has a right to not to take away your roster spot. And so it was like once we're able to get through all of that, then it's okay. And my daughter wants to be a physical therapist. And so maybe this is just her journey of
Oh, yeah.
maybe she loves the physical therapist and that like really solidifies her passion, or maybe she hates it and is like, never mind, I don't want to be a physical therapist. Who knows? Who
Very
knows?
true. I
Yes.
have had really great luck with physical therapists,
Yeah.
but my jam is a younger a younger male. So it's like my version of a pool boy. I need like a younger
Mm,
male who's like really ambitious and likes to do the physical therapy things. And then I appreciate that as in my more mature years of
yeah.
something.
You want
That's what
a
I'm getting,
younger
Jess.
beefcake?
Yes. Yes.
The final thing I want to talk about, it's spring break time, and this has caused my nerves to be fried. And another thing that happened, I don't know if I shared this on a podcast, but like I had to take my youngest to the emergency room for extreme pain. And then he was like totally fine and had no issues, but I was like, okay, I really need to follow through with this. So we have an ultrasound, and then the ultrasound leads to, hey, something might be going on. He needs to go to a surgeon to see what's going on. And so my nerves are so fried, and I'm trying to practice stuff from radical acceptance about, okay, this is happening. What is my fear? What am I
Yeah.
worried about? What's going on here? And practicing that because it really is a lot of fear around it. And so trying to follow through with that and get all the kids healthy. But I'm telling you, and so I'm so glad that we have a trip of rest and rejuvenation. I've never really been to the Texas Gulf Coast, so I'm very excited for this trip, and I'll keep you posted. But I am so excited to sleep in every day and to rejuvenate and come back ready for spring.
Yeah, I am excited for you. Jesse and I were going to do a handoff, and I was going to take Wes back into our family unit at the end of your trip. And then we were going to
Yes.
stay for a long weekend because that's Beckett's spring break. But we had to cancel because Wes had some school commitments. We're not going. So I'm excited for
Yeah.
you and what you're going to do. I told Brian, I was like, I know we cancel our trip, but we're going to Galveston because I need to see what that place is all about. I'm
Yeah.
also going to be curious about the Gulf of Mexico sitch. Are people like really leaning into the new name, which I am not? Or
Yeah.
I'll just be curious about that. If you talk to other people, because you guys have rented a house on the beach, I'm so excited for
Yeah.
that. I know it's a marathon for you guys. The benefit of your life is you get to be in sun and heat year round. The
Yeah.
downside is being a parent with kids in sports. It is year round for you guys and you
Mm-hmm.
don't have a lot of downtime. So I'm really excited for you guys to have that.
Yes.
Speaking of which, one of the exciting things for me is that Wes made the baseball team at DePaul.
Yeah.
And he has had a long journey, and I probably haven't shared it too much because I don't like to complain, but I am definitely mama bear when it comes to Wes. And he hasn't had the greatest experience starting high school.
Mm.
Not that it's been bad, it just hasn't been fun. And I was really, I think for myself, more disappointed because I thought high school would be really fun for him. High school was fun for us. We had a great time. And
Yeah.
maybe I just forgot about the not so fun parts. But he tried
Yeah.
out for the golf team in the fall and he didn't make it. And it seemed like the school is super competitive. And Wes increasingly has inherited my anxiety. And so he was very nervous about making the baseball team because it is a cut sport. We weren't sure how many kids were going to be accepted.
Mm-hmm.
And so he worked his butt off for 2.5 months and he made the team. And we're so excited. But Jess, I have to say, it has been a radical transformation for both my anxiety and Wes's. And I don't know if
Right.
he feeds off of me, but there was a time I was listening to a Tara Brach meditation about letting things go. I think it was actually even in the book, Radical
Yeah.
Acceptance, that we've been reading. And I was in the middle of it and I was like just trying to relax and I was overcome with emotion. I just started bawling.
Yeah.
But I had so much mental load. There's so much mental load many of us carry when
Yeah.
we really want our kids to be safe and happy and have all the things, and
Right.
it's beyond our control. And I had this major like breakdown. I was crying and I was like trying to explore, what are my feelings? Why is this happening? Is it like I'm trying to, like, I want him to do something he doesn't? Is it me? Is it a reflection of my ego? Like, I really try to explore all of my emotions. Like, to your point
Right.
about even your stress with Geo, like, what is it that's going to happen and why I'm afraid of that? What is it that my fear is? And through that exercise, I felt liberated. And I'm not going to say I like found that there was one thing. I think there was a lot of little pieces, but
Yeah.
recognizing them, thinking about them, and sitting in that for me was so freeing. And then
Yeah.
for Wes to ultimately make the JV baseball
Team.
team
Yeah.
was incredible. And
Yeah.
it's been dramatic for him. Like, he is so much happier. He is he's finally coming into himself. And
Right.
I love that. And I love now having a confident child that I
Well, I
know
hope it
was before.
continues. Like
Yeah.
my husband has a lot of anxiety, and I give the example. So he graduated medical school fourth in his class. I think it was fourth with a GPA of like 97. I don't know if it was like a 94 or 97 was his GPA. Okay.
Wow.
For 4 years, he failed every test. He took his boards, he failed the boards. He then took his surgical boards, he failed the surgical boards. Then we had 10 years later, he had to take the boards again, and he was like, "Jess, I'm trying to do what you tell me because every time I have anxiety, because you don't hear for like 6 weeks, I have anxiety, and then I ruined it because of course I passed, but this time's different. This time I definitely didn't pass the boards." And it's 25 years of being able to be like, remember when you thought you failed the test and you got a 97? Remember when you felt you failed the test, you got a 90? Remember when you failed the test, you got a 90? Remember when you thought you failed the boards, but then you were like, no. Remember when you failed the boards and you didn't? And it's so I hope that Wes is able to put this in his toolkit of resilience and to practice that and to not continue that because some people have continued success and continued evidence that they're fine, but they're not able to like access that, you know?
Yeah, I'm definitely working on it with him. Even through the time leading up to the tryouts, we really worked on positive self talk. I think what's really hard as a parent with a child who's struggling, whether it's in school or sports, is figuring out how to convey to them and give them the right tools that really work and that
Yeah.
resonate with them. So
Yeah.
I have to pull myself out of my 47-year-old Kelly mind and think about, what as a 15, 14, 15-year-old kid, how does my brain work? What is it that I need to do? And so even just saying positive self-talk isn't enough, right? I have to be like Wes. I'm giving him ideas of things to say to himself to bring him down. We did a
Right.
lot of breathing exercises too. What was interesting is he had a coach who, one of his coaches was like, Wes, I noticed, because he's pitching and he gets nervous for pitching. And the coach was like, you need to, I forget, something to do with his hand, doing something with your hand. And it probably was nothing. I'm sure the coach could have just like literally made that up 30 seconds before. But
Yeah.
whatever it was, Wes was like, I do that now and it helps. So it's
Yeah.
like figuring out, I think a lot of us who have children who struggle with anxiety, it's like figuring out in those moments what toolkit that they can pull from.
Right.
And to your point, that's what I didn't have that as a kid. I didn't realize, I don't know how much anxiety I had as a kid because it didn't really surface until later because I didn't have pressure. Part of our challenge is a lot of our kids now have a lot more pressure
When you said mom
on
said you were
themselves.
your
Worst enemy. Yeah, you're
yeah,
right.
what does that mean? What was that about? Was that anxiety?
Oh, yes, it was anxiety. And it was me being very hard on myself, right? Things didn't go my way. And I would just think that I did the worst thing in the world. And it would be really hard for me to not spiral. So that
Yeah.
you're right. That's probably what Wes has. So trying to pull him out of that. And also, like, it's really hard as a parent because you don't want your kid to death spiral, but also sometimes they're a pain in the ass. And so it's
Yeah.
this balance of trying to not make them feel like crap, but like when they're not doing something and you need them to, how to make them do that, but not hurt their feelings. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Is that making any
Yeah.
sense?
I think like we talk when to push and when to meet them where they're at, or like when to drag them with you or when to meet them where you're at. I think what's
Yes.
really important, I'm sure I've talked about this before. I know we have read a lot of parenting books and talked about a lot of parenting books, but first, just validating your child's experience. So, like, I hear a lot of people. So, let's say your kid is like, I'm so s- stressed, like, I'm not going to make the team. Okay. And so, these are two things I think we can go wrong. Number one, don't worry about it. You're great. You'll be fine. And number two, this even isn't even a big deal. What's a big deal? That I had to pay the bills for our family. You don't even know what stress is. You're a teenager. Okay. So I think we've got to slow our reaction down and just meet them where they're at and be like, oh, it sounds like you're really stressed. That sounds really stressful. Like,
Mhm.
even when you allowed space to sit with yourself with it. But then it's if we see our kids wallowing in it, then how do we find a time to guide them through some strategies? Maybe they need to have therapy, maybe listen to a podcast, maybe, I don't know. What are
Yes.
some things that they can learn to
Yes.
do to have tools in their toolbox?
Yes. 100%. Yeah, we have some tools in our toolbox now that we're working
Yeah.
on and will continue to, which is helpful.
Yeah. Yeah. Just as we do, right? Like we are still gathering tools, like with the book Radical Acceptance, that we are reading books, listening to meditations, trying different things, which reminds me before we end today, before I forget, I dropped a 4.5 minute guided meditation for our Thrive Tribe members. And so if you're a member of the Thrive Tribe, I'm going to start doing regular guided meditations to help us all out because I think just being a woman in midlife can be difficult. And so we need all the tools we can get, right, Kel?
Yes, I agree, Jess. And we would love for you to join the Thrive Tribe. It's a great way to support all the work we're doing here at Chasing Brighter. And we're going to continue to drop a lot of bonus content and unique content and interviews and other podcast episodes and other resources that you're not going to get with our regular weekly
All
drops.
right.
Thanks for listening today. Don't forget to subscribe so you can hear our latest episodes as soon as they drop.
If you loved today's episode, share with a friend. Find us on Instagram, Facebook at Chasing Brighter, or check out our blog at chasingbrighter.com and follow us. If you want to know more about Kelly and I, read our blogs, find more tips, tools, and resources, check that out at chasingbrighter.com. Thanks. Remember, your best life is just a listen away.